Have you ever felt like your own family didn't value you? Imagine pouring your heart into something, investing your time, money, and love, only to have the people you cared about most exclude you from something that was supposed to bring everyone closer. This is exactly what happened to me, and trust me, the consequences were nothing short of shocking. Welcome back to the channel. Where are you watching from? Let me know in the comments. Don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss out on more stories like this one. Now let me take you through my story, the one where I learned that sometimes you need to stop being the easy target for your family. I had been planning the Alaska cruise for months, poring over every detail, making sure everything would be perfect for my son Mark, his wife Vanessa, and my beloved granddaughter Emma. I had never been to Alaska, and when I came across the idea for a family cruise, I knew it was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. It would be a bonding experience, a rare chance for all of us to be together in such an awe-inspiring setting. I wanted to create memories, to be the family patriarch, to give my son and his family a trip they could never forget. The planning itself had become an obsession. I had researched the best routes, the most family-friendly excursions, and the ideal cruise lines. I knew that taking Emma on a trip like this would bring us closer. She was growing so fast, and I wanted to make sure I could contribute to her childhood in a way that would stick with her. There was one excursion that stood out to me, a private whale watching tour. Emma had been fascinated by orcas since she was 5 years old, and the idea of seeing those majestic creatures in the wild would have been the highlight of her year. I booked it immediately, along with a suite with connecting rooms. This way, Emma could easily come between our cabins. I was putting everything I had into making this trip unforgettable. When the confirmation email came through for the cruise booking, I felt a rush of pride. I had spent nearly $18,000, a small fortune by most standards, but it was worth every penny for the chance to bond with my family. As soon as the booking was confirmed, I called Mark, eager to tell him how the plans were coming together. "Hey Mark, I've booked the cruise. It's all set, suites for us all, and the whale-watching tour is included. I've even arranged for some family-friendly excursions," I told him, feeling like a proud father. "That's awesome, Dad," Mark said. His voice was warm, but there was something off about it. I didn't pick up on it at the time. I hadn't heard much about the trip after that call, but I was too excited to think much of it. I had this mental image of us all laughing together in the dining room of the cruise ship, Emma playing in the kids' club, and the three of us, Mark, Vanessa, and I, spending quiet evenings, catching up. I couldn't wait to see the awe in Emma's eyes when we saw those orcas, or when we watched the sun set over the glaciers. But everything changed the day I received that message from Mark. It was a Saturday, and I had spent the day working in the garage, sanding down the edges of a birdhouse I was making for Emma. I had promised her that we would hang it in the backyard when I was done, and I took pride in making something special for her. I had no idea that the buzz of my phone, lying on the workbench, would change everything. When I saw the message, it looked innocent enough. It was from Mark. "Hey Dad, Vanessa and I have been talking. We think it would be better if it were just the three of us on the trip. We need some quality family time. Just the three of us." I read it again, the words suddenly making my heart race. Just the three of us? It didn't make sense. I had spent months preparing for this. The entire trip had been planned around us, all of us, being together as a family. And now Mark was saying that they didn't want me there. They thought it was better for them to go alone? My fingers went numb as I tried to process the message. My mind raced with 1,000 questions. Was this a joke? Had I misunderstood something? My throat felt tight, and I couldn't breathe for a moment. This was supposed to be a time for all of us, Vanessa, Mark, Emma, and me. I had invested so much into this trip, so much of my time, energy, and savings. And now they were telling me I wasn't welcome. I quickly typed a reply, my hands shaking. What do you mean just the three of you? I've already booked everything. The cruise, the excursions. I even arranged for special activities for Emma. There was a long pause before Mark replied. I could hear the hesitation in his response. Dad, it's not about the money. It's just that, well, Vanessa and I feel like we need to focus on our family. You understand, right? Focus on their family? I had been a part of their family for years. I had been there when Emma was born. I had helped with the late-night feedings. And I had been the one who showed up every Sunday for family dinner. Wasn't I a part of that family? The anger began to bubble up inside me. I was so confused and hurt. How could they do this to me after all I had done for them? After all the sacrifices, all the years of support, financial and emotional, this was how they repaid me? Con exclusion? I picked up the phone again and called Mark. He answered on the third ring. I could hear Emma's voice faintly in the background, and it almost broke me. She was so young, and I had been looking forward to spending that time with her, seeing the world through her eyes. Dad, what's up? Mark said, trying to sound casual, but I could hear the unease in his voice. I got your message, Mark. Help me understand something. Why just the three of you? I've been planning this trip for months. I've spent everything I had to make sure this would be a special time for us, as a family. And now, you're telling me I'm not invited? There was a long silence on the other end. I could hear Mark mumbling something to Vanessa in the background, trying to figure out what to say. When he finally spoke again, it was with that same tone I had heard when he was a teenager trying to justify missing curfew. Dad, it's just... Well, you know, with your health and everything, the cruise might be a bit much. There's a lot of walking, late nights, and activities. We don't want you to feel uncomfortable or like you're holding us back. I felt a lump in my throat. My health? I was 62, but I wasn't some frail old man who needed to be kept in the background. I still ran 5 kilometers every morning, I volunteered at the community center, and I was in better shape than most of the people I knew. I took a deep breath, trying to control the rising anger. Mark, I'm not some burden. I'm not asking to be coddled. I can keep up just fine. But before he could answer, Vanessa's voice came through the phone, sharp and clear. Bob, let me be honest with you. This trip is for our family. We've been patient with you for years, but this is a time for Mark and me to bond with Emma. You've been spoiling her, undermining our parenting. Honestly, we just need some space. I was speechless. She went on to say that she and Mark had invited her parents to join them for part of the cruise, and it would be too crowded with me there. Vanessa's parents. But not me? It felt like a slap in the face. I hung up the phone slowly, still not believing what had just happened. I had given them everything, and this was how they treated me. They had used me for financial support, for emotional support, and now they were excluding me from a vacation I had planned and paid for. I didn't know how long I sat there, staring at the phone in my hand. My mind raced through the years, through the many sacrifices I had made for Mark and Vanessa. The wedding, the house, the endless financial support, it had all been for them. But was it ever enough? When Mark and Vanessa first came to me for help, it was right after their engagement. They were young, ambitious, and in love, but they didn't have the financial means to make their dream life come true. I remember the day they came over to my house, sitting across the kitchen table, looking anxious. Mark had asked for help with a down payment on a house. The market in Toronto was insane at the time, and they had been outbid on 6 properties already. Dad, we really need your help, he had said, his voice soft but desperate. We can't do this without you. If you could co-sign the mortgage, we'd have a shot. I hesitated. It wasn't that I didn't want to help them, it was just that I knew what co-signing meant. If they failed to make payments, I'd be fully responsible. But when I looked into Mark's eyes, I saw that same determination he had when he was a teenager. "We're planning on starting a family," he had added. "This house is our future, and we need stability. How could I say no?" I signed the papers without thinking twice. $100,000 for their down payment. My name on a $400,000 mortgage. I didn't even blink. They were my family. I would do anything for them. But that wasn't the end of it. When they wanted to have a grand wedding, I stepped in again. The costs were astronomical, and Vanessa's family wasn't offering much help. "Dad, it's really important to Vanessa's family," Mark explained. "They expect a lot from us. Can you help us with the wedding?" I knew what that meant. More money out of my pocket. $20,000. I didn't have it lying around, but I made it work. I refinanced my house again, stretched my savings thin, but I gave them the money. I just wanted them to be happy. But the happiness was fleeting. Every time I helped, I felt like a stepfather in the background. Their gratitude didn't last. When the wedding was over, the honeymoon was over, and they had their house, nothing changed. They kept asking for more, and I kept giving. But there was no thank you. There were no words of appreciation. Solo ems demandas. And yet, I kept giving. Because they were family. The message from Mark was only the beginning. What followed was a cascade of emotions. Shock, confusion, betrayal, but most of all, an overwhelming sense of rejection. I had been a father, a provider, a constant in their lives. I had watched them struggle, and I had been there every step of the way. Yet in a single text, everything I had done seemed to count for nothing. I couldn't shake the words from my mind. Just the three of us. It felt like a knife to my heart. The trip, the months of planning, everything had been built around us as a family, and suddenly, I was an outsider. The cruise was supposed to be an experience we would share, a way for me to bond with my son and granddaughter, to relive old memories and create new ones. Instead, I had become a burden in their eyes. I sat at the kitchen table, staring at my phone, unable to think clearly. The warmth of the afternoon sun that had once filled the room now seemed distant and cold, like everything in my life was fading into shadow. I thought about how much I had sacrificed, my savings, my time, my energy, all for them. And now, this. A decision made without me, one that felt like a final blow. I knew I couldn't just accept this. I had spent years helping them, bending over backward to ensure they were comfortable, and for what? To be treated like an afterthought? My mind began to race. The immediate instinct was to call Mark, to confront him, but I was too angry. I needed to think first. I needed clarity. I grabbed my jacket and went for a walk around the neighborhood, trying to clear my head, but the weight of everything was too much. I felt suffocated, like I was drowning in a sea of frustration. As I walked past the houses, I saw families gathered in their yards, kids playing catch, parents chatting, and there I was, on the outside, watching them live lives I had once thought I could be a part of. I was trying to hold myself together, but inside, I was unraveling. That night, I could hardly sleep. My mind kept returning to the text, to the way Mark had framed it. He had said it wasn't about the money, but it was, wasn't it? Everything I had done for them was tied to money, helping with the house, the wedding, the countless little things that added up over time. I had been the ATM, and now they were trying to phase me out of their lives. The thought was unbearable. The next morning, after a sleepless night, I knew I had to act. I wasn't going to let them walk all over me anymore. I'd been too passive, too eager to please. But that ended now. It was time for me to stand up for myself. But how? I spent the entire day thinking it over. And then I realized what I had to do. I was going to take everything away. Not just the trip, but everything. The credit cards, the mortgage, the house. I was going to remove myself from the equation completely. I would force them to deal with the consequences of their actions. If you think this is bad, Wait until you hear what happened next. The real payback hadn't even started yet. The next few days were a blur of activity. I started by calling the cruise line, and it felt strangely satisfying to cancel the entire trip. $18,000 gone in an instant, but I didn't care. I had to let them feel the weight of their actions. When the representative on the other end of the line asked if I was sure, I didn't hesitate. Cancel all 3 tickets, I told her. I don't want any of them going. There was a pause, then the representative confirmed, and I hung up. My heart pounded. I was doing this. This wasn't just a protest. This was me finally taking control of a situation that had spiraled out of my hands for too long. I didn't stop there. I called my bank next and froze all accounts tied to Mark and Vanessa. I wasn't going to let them drain me any further. I had given them more than enough. They had manipulated me, guilt-tripped me, and used me for their own gain. It was time to cut them off. I called Mark again, and this time, when he picked up, I didn't say a word at first. The silence between us was thick with tension. He must have known something was up. "Dad?" Mark said, sounding uncertain. "Why did you cancel the trip? You can't just do that." "You and Vanessa need to understand something," I said, my voice steady. "I've been more than patient with you two. But I'm done being used. The trip is canceled, and I'm removing myself from the mortgage. The bank will be in touch with you shortly." There was a long silence. Then Mark spoke, his voice shaky. "Dad, you're being unreasonable. We need you." I shook my head, even though he couldn't see me. "You don't need me, Mark. You never did. You've used me for everything I'm worth, and now you're pushing me away." "Well, I'm done. I'm not your personal bank anymore." I hung up the phone, feeling a strange mix of emotions, anger, relief, and something else I couldn't quite place. It wasn't regret, though. No. I knew I was doing the right thing. The next morning I saw the first of many consequences. Mark texted me, "Dad, what the hell did you do? The cruise was our family time. You've ruined it." I didn't respond immediately. Instead, I went for my usual morning run, the cold air biting at my skin, as if the world was telling me I was on the right path. When I came home, there were more messages, calls. They didn't stop. I didn't pick up. Let them stew in it. They had to feel the weight of their own decisions. Stay with me, because the real consequences hadn't even begun yet. You'll want to hear what happened when they realized what I had done. A few days later, I was sitting in my living room when I got a call from Vanessa. I answered, expecting her usual harsh tone, but what she said caught me completely off guard. "Bob," she started, "Mark and I were talking, and we need to clear something up. The cruise wasn't the only thing we've been upset about." I raised an eyebrow. "What are you talking about?" "We've been dealing with a lot of stress. And, well, things have been difficult with you. You've been too involved in our lives. We feel like you're hovering, undermining our decisions. We need to set boundaries." The words hit me like a ton of bricks. Too involved? Undermining their decisions? After everything I had done for them, they were trying to paint me as the bad guy? I didn't say anything at first. I didn't trust myself to speak. Then Vanessa continued, "We don't need your help anymore, Bob. And quite honestly, we think you've crossed a line. The money, the constant help, it's too much. The money, the constant help." My mind replayed the words over and over. Vanessa and Mark had been planning this, hadn't they? This wasn't just about the cruise. They had been using me for years. And now, they were setting me up to be the villain in their story. I hung up on Vanessa and sat there, stunned. But I couldn't dwell on it. I had already taken steps to ensure they couldn't manipulate me anymore. I was done. But I needed to know everything. I spent hours going through old emails and messages, piecing things together. What I found confirmed everything I had feared. Mark and Vanessa had been planning this for months. They had intended to phase me out of their lives once they had everything they needed from me. The cruise, the house, the money, it was all part of their plan to secure their future at my expense. If you've ever been betrayed by family, you'll want to hear how this ends. Keep watching to see the truth revealed. As the days went by, I felt a strange mix of exhaustion and clarity. The more I thought about it, the more it became apparent that Mark and Vanessa had crossed a line. They had taken me for granted for far too long. I realized that I couldn't just let this slip away. This was more than just a family feud. It was about respect, boundaries, and not allowing myself to be used anymore. I spent hours planning what I would do next. I knew the only way to regain control of my life was to start taking steps that would make them feel the weight of their actions. The cruise cancellation had been a bold first step, but it was just the beginning. Now, it was time to remove myself from everything they depended on. They had used me for years, and now they would face the consequences of their choices. I called my bank the following morning, knowing that if I was going to take control, I needed to act quickly. I froze all of my accounts. The emergency credit card I had given them was disabled. The account that had been a lifeline for them was now off limits. For too long, I had been their financial safety net, always there to bail them out when they needed money for things that should have been their responsibility. But not anymore. The next phone call I made was to the mortgage company. I was done being tied to that house. I had co-signed the mortgage, and now it was time for me to step away. It wasn't going to be easy, but I knew it was the right thing to do. The loan was in my name, and if I didn't act now, I would be stuck with it forever. The representative on the other end of the line tried to explain the consequences. "Sir, if you remove yourself from the mortgage, the bank could call for immediate repayment. Are you sure you're ready for that?" "I understand," I said, my voice steady. "Do whatever it takes to get my name off that loan." It's time they faced the reality of their own decisions. I wasn't sure what would happen after I took these steps. Would they be able to refinance without me? Could they maintain their lifestyle without me bailing them out? I wasn't concerned anymore. For the first time in years, I felt free. Free from the emotional weight they had placed on my shoulders. Free from the constant manipulation. That night, I sat down in front of my computer and opened the document for the Alaska cruise. I clicked cancel. I felt a strange sense of satisfaction as the screen confirmed the cancellation. Then, I moved on to the mortgage paperwork. After a few clicks, I received confirmation that my name was officially removed. My heart was pounding, but it wasn't fear that was driving me. It was something else. Something like strength. But my actions weren't without consequences. As I finished my paperwork, the first message came in. It was from Vanessa. "Bob, what did you do? Why did you cancel everything? You've ruined everything. We don't need you interfering." I didn't respond. There was no point. The next morning, Mark called me. He was angry, furious in fact. "Dad, you've crossed a line. We needed that money. You've taken everything away. You've taken everything from me for years, Mark," I replied, my voice cold. "You've used me. Now, it's time for you to deal with the consequences of your own actions." There was a pause on the other end of the line. I could hear Mark's breathing, heavy and labored. But I didn't care. I had no sympathy left for him. "Dad, please," Mark pleaded. "We'll make it right. We'll pay you back. Just please don't do this. Don't cut us off. I've already made my decision. This is the end of it. No more money, no more help. You need to face the reality of your own choices. If you think this was bad, wait until you hear the fallout from what happened next. Trust me, this is just getting started." I expected them to fight back, but I didn't anticipate how far they would go to try to make me feel guilty for doing the right thing. Over the next few weeks, I received countless calls, messages, and emails. They tried everything: manipulation, guilt trips, even threats. But the more they pushed, the more resolute I became. One evening, I received an email from Mark. It was full of apologies, promises, and pleas for forgiveness. "Dad, I know we've made mistakes. We're struggling. We just need your help. Please don't do this. You don't know how hard things are for us right now. You can't just walk away from your family like this." I stared at the email for a long time. His words were the same ones he had always used, words that seemed sincere at first, but ultimately served one purpose: to get me to help him again, to make me feel like I was the one at fault for their problems. I deleted the email without responding. Then came the phone calls, one after another, each one filled with the same desperation. Vanessa called, sounding more insistent than ever. "Bob, I don't think you realize what you've done. You're hurting us. We need you. You're the only one who can fix this. If you really cared about us, you'd help." I was done listening to their excuses. "No, Vanessa, I'm not helping anymore. This is your responsibility now. You've crossed a line, and I'm not going to be your safety net anymore." After that, the calls stopped. But they didn't go away quietly. Mark and Vanessa started to try to manipulate me through Emma. I received messages with pictures of her, little notes, things that were meant to pull at my heartstrings. But I didn't let it work. I refused to let them use my love for Emma as leverage. Then came the final blow, the one that showed me just how deep their betrayal went. I received an anonymous email containing a screenshot of a conversation between Mark and Vanessa. The contents were devastating. In the email, Mark had written, "Vanessa, don't worry. We just have to keep him happy for a little while longer. Once we've gotten the house and the vacation money, we can cut him out. He's useful to us for now, but after that, we're done." Vanessa had replied, "I know, but I don't want him around anymore. He's a burden. Let's just keep him thinking he's needed until we get what we want." I stared at the email, my hands shaking. They had been planning this for months, maybe longer. I had been nothing but a tool to them, something to be used until they had everything they needed. This was it, the moment when everything clicked into place. But the real drama was still to come. Stay with me, because you won't believe what happened next. After everything had been set in motion, there was nothing left to do but wait. I was no longer involved in their lives, and for the first time in years, I felt a sense of peace. It was a quiet kind of relief, the kind that comes when you've finally taken control of a situation that had been controlling you for far too long. But just because I had stepped back didn't mean they had given up. Mark and Vanessa began to spiral. Without my financial support, they struggled to keep up with their bills. The house they had bought was slipping from their grasp, and the mortgage company was breathing down their necks. The reality of their choices hit them hard. But instead of facing the consequences, they tried to manipulate me again. Mark called me one night, sounding desperate. "Dad, we can't make it without you. Please, we're losing everything. The house, the car, everything. You have to help us." I didn't answer immediately. I could hear Emma crying in the background, and for a moment I almost gave in. But then I remembered the email I had seen, the email where they had planned to phase me out. They had used me, and now they wanted to keep using me. "I'm not your ATM, Mark," I said, my voice cold. "You made your bed, now lie in it." I hung up, my hands trembling as I turned off my phone. For weeks after, the calls continued, each one more frantic than the last. But I didn't answer. I couldn't let myself get sucked back into their world. I had already done too much. Now, it was time for them to face the consequences. Eventually, the dust settled. Mark and Vanessa lost the house. They moved into a smaller apartment, and their financial troubles continued. But I no longer felt responsible. I had done everything I could to help them. I had provided for them for years. And now, They had to face the reality of their own choices. The hardest part of all this wasn't the financial strain. It wasn't the betrayal. It was the loss of the family I thought I had. The family I had worked so hard to keep together. Mark and I never fully reconciled. There were moments, brief ones, where we tried to talk, but the damage had been done. Trust had been broken, and it would take a long time to rebuild, if it ever happened at all. As for Emma, I fought for my rights. I got visitation. Slowly, things began to get better. I started rebuilding my life. I took trips on my own, and I began to explore parts of the world I had always wanted to see. I went to places like Iceland and Scotland. I learned how to enjoy life on my own terms. One day, a message came through from Mark. It was short, but it was enough. "Dad, I'm sorry. We messed up. I know you don't owe us anything, but I just wanted to say I'm sorry." I didn't respond right away. Instead, I sat quietly, thinking about everything that had happened: the hurt, the betrayal, the anger, and finally, the peace. I had learned something important. Sometimes, walking away from people who take you for granted is the best thing you can do for yourself. I was enough. I always had been. If you've ever been betrayed by family, you know how hard it can be. But sometimes, standing up for yourself is the hardest and most rewarding thing you can do. What would you have done in my place? Leave your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this story. Stay strong and never let anyone take you for granted.